next one. Okay, and just tell me where that came from. So what did we have on the top? Ooh, I almost got that. Tell me what this number means. So the 0.25. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, what does this mean? Inelastic. What does that mean? So even if they raise the price from 2 to 4, spending habits are not really going to change. I won't show the calculation for 2 and 3 because it's obviously the same. What was the number here? So 6 repeating. Okay, compare. So more elastic or less inelastic, just depending which way you look at it. I'd probably say less inelastic. So what does that mean? Changes very, very slightly compared to this one. Okay, what happens when we go from 6 to 8? Suddenly people are like, whoa now. And that means we are elastic. Same product, we're not changing what we're selling, it's just as the price increases, people's habits are changing. So the point is the same product can have different PED values at different prices. Does that make sense? Now we're going to look at the slope of the demand curve and talk about how it relates. So the slope of the demand curve can give us a general idea about the product's PED. So I'm going to do a fairly steep demand curve. I'm going to do a fairly flat demand curve, so a less steep demand curve. What are the other two kinds? Yeah, what do we call that? What kind of line? Yes. It's a vertical demand curve. Which we would call horizontal demand curve. And I'll leave the fifth one because we're going to do that with unit elastic. I'll come back in a second. So now what we're going to do is we're going to model a price increase, because remember PED is the effect of a price increase, what happens to demand. So I'm going to start with a fairly low price. I don't know, I'm going at the 2 tick mark. And let's call that P1. And we don't know the units, so we don't know if that's dollars, if that's thousands of dollars. We don't care in the grand scheme. And then let's mark P2 at 6. Why 6? I don't know, just looked nice. Okay, so that's showing price going up. And what I'm going to do is just mark the quantity where those intersect. So where P1 hits the line, we're going to get Q1. And where P2 hits the line, we're going to get Q2. And so this was a fairly large change in the price. And what happened over here with the quantity? Fairly small change. And did it go up or did it go down? Down slightly. So what does that tell you about the elasticity of whatever this product happens to be? Pretty inelastic. So generally, the steeper the slope is generally going to mean the more inelastic. Because a big price change didn't affect much the quantity. Okay, well, let's compare to this guy. I can't even do 2 because it's not even going to hit at my line. So let's go to 4. And let's go up to 6. Okay, so P1, P2. And where P1 intersects becomes Q1. And where P2 intersects becomes Q2. So small change in price. Ooh, what's happening down here? Big change in quantity. What does that tell you about the elasticity? It's elastic. So we say the flatter the slope, generally means more elastic. And that comes back to the idea at the top of the page, the slope of the demand curve can give us a general idea. It's not going to tell us exactly the number without calculating, but can tell you about the elasticity just by the slope of the line. Is it too fast if I go on? Okay, these are our 2 special demand curves. Let's do the same thing. Where do you want to put P1? Okay, sounds good to me. That's 1. This is the hoo-wah. You're like 2 steps ahead of me. Where do you want to put P2? 5. Well, how do we mark the quantity? It's not going to change. The quantity is the quantity. Doesn't matter what the price is, the quantity is not going to change. That's a PED of 0. Okay, so it doesn't matter. They can raise the price $1 billion. People are still going to buy what they're going to buy. Okay, what about our horizontal line? So can we change the price? No, the price is set here. This doesn't matter. The price is not going to change. So this is a PED of infinity. That's your perfectly elastic. Okay, because we can take the difference between any of the quantities and it's still going to be the same. So here's inelastic, elastic, PED 0, PED of infinity. Which one have we not done yet? PED of 1. Nope. It actually is a curve. And we talked about way back in Unit 2 that demand curves don't actually have to be lines. They can be sloped downward curves. But when you draw the line, you get a slope of 1. That's why we say it's right in the middle, unitary elasticity. And what that means is 1 percentage change in price causes a 1 percentage change in quantity demanded. So 1 percentage change in price causes a 1 percentage change in QD. So this is basically what we talked about yesterday, just in a visual form for the visual people. So what causes PD? That sounds like it's a disease. We looked at determinants of demand changes. We looked at determinants of supply changes. Now determinants of PED. Connor. Number and closeness of substitutes. What the heck does that mean? So if the price of this one goes up, but I can pick the one right beside it on the shelf, what does that mean about the PED of the first one? It's pretty elastic, right? I'm just going to switch to the next brand over. Closeness does not mean physically in the store. It means basically availability. So can you quickly available, are they available, or do you have to do some work? So the more substitutes that are available, and I'm actually going to put readily available, the more elastic the demand. And the perfect example is Victoria with her fast food, right? We talked about this when we looked at these. Does she consider that to be McDonald's? Well, if McDonald's raised their prices, what are all the other places you could go to? Burger King, there's one close. What else? Taco Bell, Wendy's, I heard. KFC. A&W. Okay. I'm trying to see how long it's going to take us to get 10 substitutes. We did talk about, yeah. Little Caesars. No one has picked Subway. No one picked the healthy option in there. Healthier option. Okay, so that's what it means. The determinant of the substitutes is the easier it is to swap something out. Obviously, you're going to pick the other product. Doesn't mean everybody will. Some people are die-hard brand people, so they only drink Coke. They won't drink Pepsi or other brands. But generally, the population is going to switch to the cheaper product. Proportion of income spent on the good. So what does that mean? The proportion of income spent on the good. Connor.
Like, say, you spent, like in the summer, you spent 15% of your income on fresh vegetables and fruit, and then you're 7% on.
So how does that affect the elasticity?
That becomes more elastic.
So because you spend less, it becomes more elastic? So I think you have your cause and effect backwards there a little bit. Okay, so good thought, but not quite. So imagine you're an adult, you have your job, you have your family, everything's great. What are the biggest chunks of your income going to go towards? Food, your shelter, whether it's an apartment, a house, something you're renting, and your car is probably going to be the first, or transportation. So your car, you've got your gas, you've got your maintenance, you have your auto pack. Those are probably going to be your three biggest things: your food, your shelter, and your car. So you're a little more attached to them because you have such a big investment in them. So if car prices go up and you have 15% of your income in the car sitting in your driveway, are you more likely to trade it? Probably not, right? Because it's a huge portion of your income and you don't want to have to lose money. What about the price of tomato? Right? What percentage of your income would you spend on tomatoes every week? 0.0001. Tomatoes go up, are you that upset? Meh, maybe a little bit, maybe not. If the price goes down, meh, are you going to go out and buy 1,000 more tomatoes? Probably not. So the more of your income that you have invested in the good, the more inelastic it is. Okay, so your car, if the price goes down on car, you're probably not still going to trade it in because it's such a big portion of your income. So the higher the proportion of income spent on the good, the higher the proportion of your income spent on the good, the more inelastic it becomes. Yes, inelastic. So right now, house prices are in a decline. We're in what we call a buyer's market, and that's when prices are going down, which is good for the buyers, not so good for the sellers. Well, just because house prices are going down, does that mean your parents are going to put your house on the market and move? Why not? It's a lot of money, it's a lot of work, right? You have to find a new house, you gotta pack, you gotta move, it's a lot of work. Just because house prices are going down, people aren't generally gonna sell their house. Let's say the price of iPads goes down tomorrow. Would you go out and get a new one?
How much?
Let's say it goes down by $100.
What is it normally?
I don't know, what's the iPad, $400? So big Christmas sale at Staples, 25% off. Are people generally going to go out and get a new iPad? Probably, because it's not that much of their income. That's what it means. So I think of a car / a house is a little more inelastic. Okay, third determinant, so third thing that determines PED is time period between measurements. This is what we talked about yesterday with short run versus long run. And we looked at gasoline and how it had two different PEDs. It had the short run, long run. What was the difference between them? So if we look at the table yesterday, which one was more inelastic and which one was more elastic?
Short run was 1.2 and long run was 1.7.
Okay, so why was it closer to 0 when it was the short run?
I got this.
Okay,
Short run because you need gas like in the next day or wherever, next week or so. The long run you need that EcoBoost engine, get a hybrid, you gotta take a bus.
we got it. So the longer the time period, the more elastic the good. Because, so the longer the time period, the more elastic the good, because
You have time to switch methods or
you have time to find a substitute. So if tomorrow the government announced we're going to take everyone's property tax and triple it, okay, tomorrow people are still going to have to pay it because can you up and change housing tomorrow? No, but in the long run, people might need to find cheaper housing because they can't afford the property tax. So that's what time between measurements means. Addiction, degree of necessity, or habit. What example do we have on our numbered line here that would reflect this one? So an example could be cigarettes. Starbucks for Miss Thompson. I went to Starbucks yesterday. It was the first day of the holiday season. They've upped my drink by 17 cents. Is that enough to stop me? Was that going to change my elasticity? No, I just complained about it and vented on Facebook, but I'll still go. Lottery tickets is another one. Some people just have to play every week in the hope that they're going to win. They're obviously not a mathematician. Chances of winning the lottery are equal to the chances of getting struck by lightning 6 times, which means you'd have to be struck 6 times and survive to win the lottery. Yes, then you probably have the same chance of winning the lottery. So these types of products, tend to be more inelastic. Teenagers, I would say probably your cell phone is like the most inelastic thing that you have. Ooh, could be licensed too, yeah, yeah. If you had to save one possession if your house was on fire, that mine would be my laptop, yep. Because anything on the phone I can get back on the laptop, but like besides my pets and people and branding and advertising. So how does that affect elasticity? Okay, and how does advertising do that? Yeah, it's actually a form of brainwashing when you think about it, right? They play the ads over and over and over, and it suddenly gets into your subconscious, but I need that, or I need the brand name because everybody else has the brand name. Really, they're brainwashing you. So this can reduce a brand's elasticity. As ads can convince us the good is superior. If you look at Superstore, for example, which is probably one of our biggest grocery store chains, and I hate calling it a grocery store because really you usually don't buy towels in a grocery store, but it has everything. And most of the no-name products, which I can't remember what their house brand is, President's Choice, is that their house brand? They're actually usually the identical to the brand name. They're made in the exact same factory. They just slap a different package on it. So when you go in, you're like, oh, I need Kleenex, like, because Kleenex is good Kleenex, and we even call it Kleenex, even though that's a brand. And you look at the store brand, they're probably the exact same product in the box. They just slap it on it and call it cheaper. What tells us we need Kleenex? Well, that's advertising and brand naming. And what's the jingle for McDonald's? Yeah, so how much branding did they have to do to get that into your head immediately? What's the slogan for Coca-Cola? We'll find it out. Oh, he's cheating. He's cheating. He's going to Google. Nobody can remember? Okay, go to Google, see if you can remember it.